What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Edgeful Trade Recap series. Today, I'm going over the initial balance breakout report from the Edgeful platform that offers really high statistical probability of helping you find that directional bias, which is a big problem with a lot of newer traders. And it was a huge issue for me as well. But having these stats really helps add conviction to my overall directional bias. And I'm going to go over how we frame that out using the data. And then, as always, I'm going to do a trade recording in real time and walk you guys through how I executed on that position. Let's do it. All right. So as always, we have to start on the Edgeful dashboard and pour into the data. So if you see here, initial balance breakout report, we're looking at the futures market and specifically on the NASDAQ because that's what I primarily trade. So if you're unaware of what the initial balance is, it's very simple. It's just the first hour of trade of the New York session. So that's from 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to form a range in that first hour of the open. And then that is our initial balance. So the stats here are really interesting. Now, for the last 6 months, we have only broke one side of the initial balance 80% of the time. That is a huge statistical probability. So how do we actually use this in our trading? Well, very simply, if we wait for that first hour to form, so we wait for the initial balance to form, and then we get a break of either side of the initial balance, so the upside or the downside, we can now maintain a directional bias in whichever direction we got that first break. So in the trade recap that I'm going to be going over, we broke the initial balance low to the downside. So at that point, knowing for the last 6 months, that we have only broken one side of the initial balance 80% of the time, I am now going to maintain a short directional bias for the rest of the day and try to just stay in line with the trend and follow the data here. So, I mean, sometimes we do get a double break. So in the last 6 months, we've broken the upside and the downside of the IB 18% of the time. So again, you have really high statistical probability here. And this is for the last 6 months. So it's been working really well in the last 6 months. But of course, we want to know there's longevity in this data. So that's why Edgeful is really helpful because they have data all the way up to the last 5 years. So if I just go to the last 5 years, I mean, the data is extremely consistent. So for the last 5 years, we've gotten a single break 74% of the time. So this is data that you can trust on a longer time horizon. And that's why it's so beneficial and why there is true edge in it. So enough of my yapping. I want to get to the trade recording and go over that in real time. All right, so let's just get right into it here. So if you could see, it is around 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time at the point that I am taking this trade. So our initial balance has been formed and we did break the downside of that initial balance. So at that point, I want to maintain my short directional bias to stay in line with the data. Now, ideally, I don't want to be trying to get short immediately as we're breaking that initial balance low, because more times than not, we are going to have a retracement to a key level, sweep some type of internal high or low to then give us fuel to get that continuation move. And that's exactly what I waited for in this instance. So we broke our initial balance low right after the initial balance was formed around 10:35, 10:40 a.m. Right after that, we get a retracement. So what was looking like a bounce, I'm sure a lot of people were trying to get long at that point and spot the reversal. But because we broke that initial balance low, for me, I want to maintain my short directional bias. I know I have the data on my side. So after we sweep that internal low and we start to displace lower, I get short 75 tick stop loss with a 150 tick take profit. This is all on the 1 minute time frame. So this was a really quick trade with clean delivery. I was able to capture about 2R in about 4 minutes. As you can see here, we're about to get our TP. So just to be safe at this point, no reason to take a loss on this trade. We move stops to break even, and then boom, TP hit, all thanks to Edgeful data. And here are the executions right there.